Hi, this is Rob Unspach, and welcome to another edition of eHeroes. And today's eHero is Steve Gamlin, and we're going to talk about mistakes. We're going to talk about speaking, and we're going to talk about, I kind of forgot what we're going to talk about because, sometimes we just flub along, and that's life. So, welcome, Steve. And I know it's probably not the greatest welcome in the world, but we're going to talk about that.
We're good, man. Thanks for having me on the show, Rob. I really appreciate it. And yeah, the believe me, my whole career is based on what some people would perceive as mistakes and some life flubs. So no worries, man. We roll with everything. And at the bottom of it all, whatever doesn't kill me, I get a good speaking story out of it. So we're good.
So, when I first met you long ago, and I've interviewed you before on
Mhm.
other of my shows, you know, you're always that one thing that always resonates with you, and I think it's your ultimate superpower is authenticity.
Yeah.
And no matter where I see you on Facebook or you're speaking or this, you're as authentic on stage as you are in real person.
Yeah. That's been the number one goal since day one. And in our industry,
Mhm.
that can sometimes be a little gray this way or that way, on stage and off being different. And I just figure, I may as well be the same person all the time. That way, I never have to look over my shoulder ever, no matter where you see me, on stage or off, or in a interview like this.
Mhm.
When we talk prior to an interview, it's the same as when we're on camera. And you're that way as well, and I really appreciate that.
There's a lot of speakers out there, and I'm not going to name names. I think people are grown up enough that they know who we're going to talk about. But they get up on stage and they do their show, and they seem like they're this awesome person, and then you see them in the grocery store. You see them, somewhere, and they're total jerks.
Yeah.
And that's not how you're supposed to be.
No, not at all. I've had people get off a stage before me going on and mutter, I mean, a really couple of nasty words about the audience that day, or about the room, or about the mic, or the sound, or whatever. And I just shake my head. I'm like, man, you don't get it. I'm going to go up there now and show you how to respect your audience,
Mhm.
and I just go up and let it rip and do my thing.
Now, over the last year, you've been really doing some wonderful things. I think revamping your own videos,
Yeah,
and I followed along, and you take a lot of cues from what's being done by others, and you bring them together in your own videos to improve them. Even I think you even had a stage, not a stage to speak, but a sound stage to do a lot of your recordings in, and I thought it was pretty cool.
thank you very much. Yeah, it's come to be known as, one of my clients called it the Barnboard Lounge, because one of my dreams has always been to own a barn. I love barn board and just the warmth of it. So I went out after years of wishing I had something better to be proud of. Got $72 worth of barn board at a local mill and got a nice warm color of stain, and just put it up on the wall behind me. And instantly, my comfort level and my confidence blew up. And I appreciate that you said that, all the tinkering I've done over the last couple of years, because I do try to surround myself with people who inspire me and can guide me to the next level. And I've been so happy with the videos. My clients have been loving them. And ever since that barn board went up, switch went off. And it's been great. And I'm about to rebuild the barn board lounge here at our new home. This is a temporary setup right now. But as long as I get the building permits this week, we're going to start construction next week, probably.
Well, that's your whole, I think your whole persona under the motivational firewood, and then that whole barn board stuff in the back. It
Mm.
just brings it all together.
Thank you. Yeah, it does. And somebody asked me recently, they said, I saw one of your really old videos from way back. And then I said, I saw one of your new ones. I said, how did you get so comfortable on camera? And I said, well, here's the truth. I shot more than 400 uncomfortable videos.
Mhm.
and then just learned with each one and got better. Now those other 400 are gone. But if you include macaroni and glitter on them, my mom would probably hang them on her fridge because there's like my kindergarten videos. But you got to do the bad ones, and you got to do the bad interviews and do the bad speeches to be able to even get better, to just be vulnerable enough to screw up.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then find experts like you and the people, that I work with on the YouTube channel and speaking coaches, and you just get better.
Mm-hmm. And I always tell people the first at least 100 videos you're going to make are going to be terrible.
Yeah.
You got to keep doing them. And I know one of my friends who I've interviewed on the show, Jerry Oginski, he's done close to 3,000 videos. And, when you go back, to closer to his beginnings, the videos weren't as crisp. They weren't as clear. They still had a great message.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But, and as for me too, if you look back hundreds of videos before, I wasn't as comfortable. I wasn't as laid back. I wasn't, as articulate. Well, I still make mistakes. Yeah. That's the beauty of it. You just keep on going.
Yeah, I make at least one mistake in every video,
mm-hmm.
and half the time, because when I'm making my videos, I have an audio track separately. I've got one of my mics here, and the camera's a few feet away, and I'll either forget to turn on the guide mic, which I use on the microphone, which lets me sync up the tracks. Which, if I don't use it, I wind up with like a bad Godzilla-looking video where the lips don't match the words, or I forget to turn on the other mic, and I get that distant tin can recording of the camera mic. And whenever I do that, I listen back and I go, oh my God, I nailed that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the audio is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll cut a good piece of audio at the beginning and say, okay, the string broke on the tin can and this is what we got, but the message is cool. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And just roll with it.
Yeah. And then I think people get held up by perfection. Yeah. They think, well, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. But you know what? My philosophy is good enough. Get it out there, get your message out there, start making money. And once you start making money, you can always go back and correct the video, make another one, make it better. It's never going to be perfect, but you got to look at what Apple and Microsoft do. They bring out a product, and then what do? They bring out updates and updates and updates, always trying to perfect that product, but it's never perfect out of the gate.
Yeah. I remember I did a 30-day video challenge, 4 or 5 years ago. And I must have done 30 takes on day one. And I had the people in charge of the challenge emailing me, come on, everybody else has posted, you haven't done it. And I agonized over it. And this was prior to the Barn Board Lounge. This was a camera without an external mic under one fluorescent light fixture. One bulb was burned out in it in the echoey corner of my studio. I did 30 takes and hated myself more after every take. And finally I said, well, up yours. Here's the video for today. Blah, it stinks. About 3 days later, I get an email from somebody. Hey, I saw your video. How did you know I needed that message that day? Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the day it stopped being about me. That was the day it stopped having to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
There's a screw up in every video I do, and it's okay.
I do a live show every single day, and every single day I stumble over at least one word, and I always say, you know what, that's the word for today. And then I tell people, hey, you know what, go back over 200 and some videos, 300 videos, you'll see I made mistakes every single one of them.
Yeah.
That's it. But that's the beauty of live video, because you start to get comfortable in your own skin and start talking to people,
Yeah, I'm going to start doing live soon because we have a much better connection here at the new house we just bought. Right. I was in a small town in the woods with DSL through the phone line prior, and I'm dating myself here, but if you remember the Max Headroom show
mm-hmm.
from the 80s where he would stutter and freeze and stop, that's me doing a live video on the old DSL line. It was horrible. Mm-hmm. And I would freeze and stop and stutter, and I'm thinking I couldn't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been unable to do live video. We just moved here 6 weeks ago, and I'm so excited to get started very soon. And again, it's not going to be perfect. Yeah. I may fall out of shot out of embarrassment. Who knows? I'll just say I'm hunting around on the floor for talent or something and finish the live video.
Mm-hmm. But you do a lot of speeches, talks,
Yeah.
you know. So when you get up on stage, what do you share with your audience?
I share a very, very back to basics blend of positivity and humor, a lot of humor. I'm a former stand up comic and radio personality. So, what I try to do is just stress to everybody look, I'm not going to tell you how to make your life better. I'm going to tell you what has worked for me in the most basic steps imaginable. I don't try to be one of those people with a super secret formula and, buy my $10,000 weekend package. It's basic stuff. And what I've found from people over the years, and this dovetails in with the motivational firewood thing, it's I'm leaving you little pieces of something, firewood, that if you have a spark in your heart to do something, and you take one of these and you'll learn from it, you marinate on it, but then you add it to the spark in your heart and actually take action. That's why it's called firewood.
Hmm.
It's not all going to work for you. It's not all going to be applicable. But when I'm up there for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever it might be, just spitting this stuff out left and right all over the place, making you laugh along the way with some visuals. If you remember it and do something with it, then that's what I'm all about. I'm the most uncomplicated speaker you will ever see on a stage.
That's always my philosophy. Keep it simple. When I get up on stage and I share, it's mostly stories. I I can't even tell you the last time I repeated information. I know a lot of speakers get up there, they have their shtick. They know it's all scripted out. That's not me. Everything that I do is tuned to the audience of the day. So I get up there, tell a story, you know, kind of gauge the audience, find out what they want, and go from there. But it's got to be relatable to them, and it's got to be something new to them. And if it's something that someone's already heard, they're gonna walk away going, "Man, I heard that before. Doesn't the guy have any new stuff?"
Yeah. Yep. And I've heard that from people. And this goes back to my stand-up comedy days as well. I can go 5 years without seeing somebody. And then if I go to see them, whether it's a speaker, comedian, or whatever, and they start with the same 10 words they started with 5 years ago, and the same pause and the same body language, and it's like a robot is up there.
Mhm.
And like you said, they're not even acknowledging what that audience needs or the energy coming from that group. I mean, I've got my stage stories because I use a lot of visuals as well on the screen, but I'll always ask the person who hired me, what is the biggest challenge your people are dealing with right now? What's the biggest pain?
Mhm.
What's the elephant in the room? Because we're gonna address that thing right away and let them all know that we're gonna hang for an hour. We're gonna have some fun. And if tomorrow morning you think, speak, or act in any one more positive way because of our time together, it's a massive win. Not a little win, a massive win.
Mhm.
I think too many people expect people like us to just step on stage for an hour and radically change their lives, and the clouds part and the music and all that. Now we're just going to share some time, and if you walk away better, that's a big win, and that's all I promise people.
Mhm. But before you got up and spoke to people, you were comfortable being in front of them anyway. You I guess were a DJ.
I was on the radio for 10 years. I've owned a DJ company now for almost 25 years,
Mhm.
corporate events, weddings, stuff like that. But it's funny, at heart, and most people do not ever believe this, I'm an introvert with some shy tendencies. And I've always used humor as a way to get over that,
Right.
which is why it blends well into speaking. But yeah, I've never been one of those center of attention people. I love being creative and all that. But, and somebody asked me recently, don't you ever get nervous before you get on stage? And I said, well, I only get nervous every time.
Mhm.
But when I get that first laugh, we're good. And
Mhm.
then we just let it rip. So yeah.
Before we got on, before we went live, we were talking about pricing and how some of our competitors, in order to get jobs, or they sense that the economy is not as strong, have lowered their price to make it up in volume.
Yeah.
And some of us know better, have raised our prices or kept our prices the same, knowing that it's going to be harder in the long run to raise those prices again when the economy straightens.
Yeah.
And I think that you've experienced that as well.
In both of my companies, yeah, in the speaking and also the DJ and MC company, when 2008 hit, there's a gentleman that we both work for. We have an agent, we share an agent, and the agent asked us both, "What do you want to do? Do you want to get more gigs at less money, or keep your pricing the same and ride it out?" And the other person slashed his prices, in some cases 60%,
Wow.
just to be working. And unfortunately, here we are 10 years later, he can't get out of that price level. And he's working twice as hard and still not making as much as I'm able to make. And the best part of it is, though, I've maintained a level of client which is great with testimonials, really appreciates the value we bring. And he's kind of spitting through people that don't even seem to care about what he's doing, not giving testimonials, not following up. And it's nothing against anybody, but it's the certain level of respective value
Right.
that
And
I'm
it's
still getting
the
great
clients that
testimonials and quality.
it's the clients you attract with your pricing. If your prices are too low, you're going to attract low paying clients.
Yeah. Yep. Who won't make the investment of a time to go put up a review somewhere, which I mean, reviews to us are gold.
Hmm.
It's all we've got. I've been word of mouth since day one, and even my agent is word of mouth as well.
Hmm.
He's been at it for 40 years, and it's really worked well for us. And we see other people blasting money in every direction, and it's they have a tough time gaining traction with that because they're not pitching the right people to
Right.
get the value.
Well, let's talk about those right people.
Mhm.
Because this is the big one that most entrepreneurs fail at is who is their right audience?
Mm.
You know, is it the person that maybe doesn't have enough money that could potentially give them more work down the road? Or is it the person that has a lot of money and has a lot of friends that have a lot of money? Or is it in the middle of the road somewhere?
Yeah, when I started out, people said, "Who can you speak for?" And I can speak for anybody.
Mhm.
Anybody who has even 20 minutes that I can be up in front of people, and you don't even have to pay me. Just give me a chicken dinner or
Mhm.
something like that. And what I found all of a sudden I'm doing, and nothing against Rotaries or anything like that, because they're a great place to practice. But I
Right.
found that was the only type of offer I was getting.
Mhm.
And then when I sat down with somebody who is now my agent for speaking, and she said, "Look, here's what you're doing. I see you spraying yourself out everywhere." She said, "Just pick a couple of industries and pick a narrow approach, and then target the people who are having the biggest conferences, having events more often, and are paying their speakers because that's." Where you're going to get people who appreciate the message you bring, not just, "Oh, we just need somebody to fill this."
Mhm.
In my early years, but I took anything. I did 38 events for free for state of Mass and state of New Hampshire for the unemployment networking groups. Now, there was no money there. It was great practice. I can't knock that.
Mhm.
But I wasn't getting anywhere. And I did literally almost 40 events for free. And people would always say, "Oh, if you do this, we'll tell everybody about you." Well, what they tell everybody about you is, here's this guy that's willing to speak for free.
Mhm.
And that's kind of an avenue. So I had to basically just shut that down completely and focus more on where the money was, because if I can't pay my bills, then I can't continue to share this message.
Mhm.
So it became a matter of honoring myself as much as my potential clients and my audiences by being in a really good mindset and working really hard to provide the value so that the fees can go up, and they have.
Mhm.
And it's been a great thing. I travel more. I was out in Arizona last year, so I've been from New England, boom, 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 as far as Arizona now,
Mhm.
which is wonderful. And it's funny, as the price has gone up, people have said, "You know what? We heard about you from those last people you worked with. Send us the agreement."
Mhm.
So it's been slow to grow. And believe me, I'm not always the best at the business end of things.
Yeah.
But it's been advice that I've taken action upon, and I'm very happy with the results.
Mhm. And you have to stick with the price. So you have to learn to also have to how to say no.
Yes.
If someone says, "Hey, can you do this event?" and you're like, and then you're weighing it in your mind, and I'm thinking, and you might be thinking, "Okay, well, this might get me exposure, but this one pays the bills."
Yep. Yep. And there's a happy medium. I mean, there are events I have discounted for.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, I got one coming up soon where It's a last minute. It's just a short little snippet of a thing, and I had nothing going that evening. And then I said, well, I can't do this because of. And then I looked at the person who's asked me to come in for it. He's a professional photographer, and I looked at my notes, and it said, "Need new marketing materials." And I said, "Okay, here's where we go. Here's the discount I can give you, but I also expect you to bring your camera and make me look really, really good."
Hmm.
So he said, "Oh my gosh, gladly, I'll do that. And I'll tell you what, why don't you come in for a studio portrait as well?" Okay, now great. That's value both ways
Hmm.
because I do need to update some of the on stage pictures of what I'm doing. And I've got a new marketing piece coming up that is waiting on new pictures. So here we go. Opportunity.
Great. How do people find you? I mean, you got your website, you got social media. You want to throw out some of those information?
Yeah, you can actually find me, my videos, if you go to stevegamlin.live. That'll take you to where all my videos are, and you can subscribe if you like them. Social media, again, just my name, Steve Gamlin, and there's also a business page on Facebook, LinkedIn, and I just try to be everywhere. And the greatest advice somebody gave me that I actually still follow, or at least try for, somebody told me, be so amazing that people can't possibly ignore you. So while I'm not out begging for work or always throwing a sales pitch in there, for better or for worse, I try to just put something of value on every platform, if not every day, several times a week. Just put
Is,
some good value out there. And I've had
is
people
there
that
is there
say,
platforms
I've
that you
followed you
don't
for
use?
years. And then they said, I knew eventually the moment would come along where I'd want to hire you. And you're somebody I've kept my eye on for a long time.
Hmm.
That's how I got my agent representing me, who has already booked me for the biggest events I've ever had.
Wow.
She followed me for 3 years before she said, I finally have something I think you'll be a fit for. And it turned out to be the big event in Arizona a year ago this month.
Wow. Now, are there platforms that you don't use?
I've not gotten onto Instagram enough. And when I do put something there, people they like it, they share it, they comment, they reach out to me and say they love it. I just keep forgetting or lack of time, whatever, to put stuff there. And then the Instagram stories, I hear so many people talking about the 15-second videos, I guess it is. I've got to make a more concerted effort to get out there.
And I think that, when it comes to social media, you also have to gauge your audience. Where are they? Are they on Facebook? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Twitter? Most of my audience, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're professionals. They're either on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn, or they're on YouTube. Some of them are on Instagram. Most of my clients aren't on Snapchat. That's not where my audience is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, for those that are millennials or they like Snapchat, great. It's just not me. So I don't go there. I have an account, but I rarely ever use it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever even registered an account there. I always check the analytics on my YouTube channel of who watches my stuff, and I've consistently said my audience and the people who hire me predominantly female. Blah 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 blah. I check the analytics. It says your largest audience is males ages 40 to 55.
Hmm.
75 on YouTube anyway. 75% to about 25% male
Yeah.
to female, and I've wondered over the years. I go, what am I doing wrong? I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Hmm.
My audience is finding me. It's not up to me to define who my audience is.
Right.
It's these are the people responding to my message. And I've had some people say, well, you need to speak on this if you want to attract a different audience. I said, but I don't speak on that. And I
Right.
can't speak from the heart on that. I'm not an authority on that.
And
So I'm
I
just
think
gonna stay in my lane and keep doing my thing my way. And those who show up, show up. And that's great because I'm getting some really great events out of it.
and I think you hit on something because the majority of entrepreneurs have no idea who their audience is, or they think it's this, when it's that.
Yeah.
Or, you think that the majority of your audience are women, it's actually men.
Yeah.
And I think that if more and more people realized who their audience was, they could actually cater themselves to that higher audience and make more money.
Yeah. Yep. You're staring over at this one thing over here while this other thing's tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, come on over here. You're like, no, 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 no. No, I'm over here. I'm supposed to be over here. But The audience will respond. I mean, when you find them and you hit the right message, they will call. And you gotta answer the phone when it's calling and realize that really is your audience, not what some demographic study told you it should be. If they're calling and the phone is ringing and you're booking events and you're able to pay your bills, then you're in the right direction at least.
Right. So there you go, folks. This is why Steve is an e-hero. So if you get a moment, go to his Facebook, go to his YouTube, go to his you can go to his Instagram. It's just you're not going to see as many pictures as you would on Facebook or anywhere else. But check him out on his website, and I'll put the links down. And make sure you subscribe to his YouTube. So, hey, this is Rob Anspach, and you can always find me at anspachmedia.com. And let's give a warm goodbye to Steve, and hopefully we get him back on the show again because Steve's always a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you, Rob. I really appreciate that. Always a blast.
See you guys later.